Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi mining community, welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Geoff Day, who's the CEO of AMAK, who's a privately owned company registered and licensed by the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources and located in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They are one of the major mining companies in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that produces copper, zinc, gold, silver, and in district commercial quantities. Geoff is a geochemist by background with over 35 years experience in the mining industry globally, and has worked across many countries, including Australia, PNG, Indonesia, Americas, Africa, and Europe. His expertise encompasses all phases of mining, starting from exploration through to mining and processing operations, and working in technical services and in mine closure and rehab. So obviously has a extensive experience within our mining industry and also worked in mergers and acquisitions and external affairs. Geoff's going to give us a history of AMAK, his journey, recent investments and developments, the company's corporate social responsibility, and the outlook of mining within Saudi Arabia. Geoff, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Rob. Yeah, pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me. I'll just make one small correction. Apologies, mate, but we're not a private company. We're actually a publicly listed company on the Tadawul, which is the Saudi Stock Exchange. So we're probably the second largest individual mining company on the Saudi Stock Exchange. But pleasure to be here. So I guess AMAK, Al Masani Al Kobra Mining Company, or AMAK as it's called, really started back. The genesis was back in 1967 when there was an airborne geophysical survey through the Arabian Shield, which discovered mineralisation in and around where AMAK currently sits. In 1993, the Arab American Shield Development Company was granted a concession to develop, explore throughout this mineralised zone. And it wasn't until the incorporation of AMAK in 2008, 2009, where AMAK started to hit its straps and move towards further exploration and development. So the incorporation of AMAK in 2008, the commencement of commercial production, the commencement of construction of the first mine for AMAK, which is where I'm sitting at the moment in what's called Al Masani copper and zinc mine. So it was started. Construction in 2010, commercial production started in 2012. Originally, that was with a contractor. So the owners of the tenement at the time engaged with a Chinese company to develop the mine and run the mine. The owners then put the operation into care and maintenance around 2016 in order to reposition the business such that it could be IPO'd. So put it into care and maintenance, develop the skills internally, reconfiguration of the process plant, and it was about a year and a half later that they recommenced operations under an owner mining type approach. In 2019, I think was the next major development where they opened up the second portal underground. So still one portal, one process plant, second portal to exploit what was the third ore body, what's called Moyat. In 2021, we developed our second process plant to process gold. So I'm currently sitting at the Al Masana area. The gold plant, we've got a gold mine about 10 kilometres away from us, and which started off as an open pit, and we're now 2021 operating both the open pit gold and the new gold plant called Guyam. 2022, pivotal moment for the company when the IPO was successfully launched. So it was a very successful launch on the Tadawul, on the Saudi Stock Exchange, and one of the primary use of funds from that IPO was to develop a third process plant called Moyat. So Moyat, slightly higher grade. The Al Masani plant was a little older. The gold plant wasn't suitable, so the Moyat plant was really about exploiting the Moyat ore body and hopefully process future high-grade deposits locally. So I guess the story since 2017, when AMAK, Owner Mining AMAK pre-IPO, it's been a pretty significant rise. One mine, one process plant, to now having 2 portals, 3 ore bodies underground, and 3 process plants, plus the gold operation about 10 kilometres away from us.
Thanks, Geoff, for giving us an overview of AMAK. Apologies for the initial mistake at the beginning. I wondered if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself as well. This podcast is obviously for educational purposes, and what I always want to encourage is for guests to tell us a little bit about their journey and their career. So I just wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the industry and how your career's developed to what it is today.
Yeah, oh, look, it's a great industry. You know, if you've got the mining bug, you know, there's no better place. When I meet young engineers or graduates or visitors, you know, I say, I don't know another industry that offers the range of opportunities and careers that the mining industry does. I started off, as you said before, geochemist. Was my first degree. Done a couple of degrees since then. Similarly, in that earth science, geochemistry field, geology and geophysics. But started off doing some test work program for mines in Papua New Guinea, looking at cyanide speciation. So once I was there, I was hooked. So it wasn't long before working as a chemist, looking at processing, that I started a long career based in Papua New Guinea in a variety of residential roles, from Oktedi to Lahir. Worked at most of the big mines in Papua New Guinea. So from there, after 14 years, I moved to Brisbane briefly as the head of technical services in Brisbane for Rio Tinto. Literally there 6 months, and then was called to London for a similar sort of role, looking after technical services for Africa and Europe for Rio. Great company, great opportunities to learn the industry and travel internationally. I then joined Newcrest, came back to Australia as Newcrest COO for 3 years, I think it was. Again, great time to be there. I was there with Ian Smith at the time, and learned an enormous amount, you know, from being in the technical sphere within Rio, to really being at the forefront of the operational space with Newcrest. Then joined a number of base metal producers for a couple of years before setting up my own consulting company, looking at deep sea exploration, marine geochemistry, and oceanography. Before heading off to Turkey, where I spent a number of years both as president and COO of a couple of different companies over there, until earlier this year, mid this year, when I joined AMAK.
Yeah, and as we were speaking just off camera, obviously you recently joined AMAK earlier this year. I suppose what was the attraction to go and work in Saudi, and what was it? And was it as you expected, working in Saudi? And obviously, over the last few years, the country has certainly come to a lot of people's attention within our industry. So I just wanted to get your perspective, and obviously now working in the country, what it's like.
Yeah, it'd be disingenuous to call it a hidden gem. Perhaps I was just naive. A lot of people appreciate the rich mineral endowment that Saudi has to offer. My expectation, I hadn't been here before. Even during the interview, it wasn't in country. So it was pretty much sight unseen by the time I got here. But a mine is a mine is a mine. I like the surprise of rocking up and saying that's quite different to what I expected. So what's different? You have this mental paradigm of flat shifting sands and sand dunes, and that's just that's not being rude. It's just that mental paradigm that one gets. Where we are, we're sitting in the El Joshan Mountains, about 1,750 metres, very temperate climate compared to the Saudi desert. So I think from a work-life perspective, I love it. The geology is sensational. The landscape is sensational. Wildlife is pretty good too. But the business side, I don't think I've worked in a jurisdiction that has such a progressive approach to supporting mining. So, you're obviously aware of Vision 2030, the government's approach to diversification and sustainable development. They actually support what they say they want to achieve. So we have a very supportive regulatory regime, both from a mining and investment and tenement acquisition perspective. So if there's a place to work with true support, I think this is the place from my perspective. So it's been a really pleasant surprise. And hence there's a number of people lining up to come. Access to good ground and supportive regulatory regime, the foundations of a good mining company.
Yeah, you gave us an overview of obviously of the company. I just wondered if there was any particular mining assets that you want to highlight, and maybe some of the challenges and opportunities for that particular asset.
Look, our strategy, if you like, the board in our most recent board meeting announced our strategy for growth from 2025 and beyond. Earlier this year, we declared commercial production on our new processing plant, Moyat, and our focus really is about looking at what we've got, how do we maximise the value from those, and especially within our geographical region. So we've got a couple of the developments that are coming up. We've got the Katana deposit, another gold deposit, about 6 kilometres north of our Guyane gold deposit, open pit. We've got a number of satellite deposits. And in October this year, we started the decline development below the open pit at Guyane. So the focus is really about how we extend the life of our gold production, because it's a significant part of our revenue stream. About 30 to 35% of our revenue stream comes from gold. So we're actively looking, obviously maintaining the production base and finding new resources locally, another key focus area for us. And then more regionally, we have a total of 21 exploration licenses which were granted under the very progressive tenement auction system here, where we're actively looking for both base metals, precious metals, and industrial minerals. So a fairly full scorecard around how we grow the business within the country. I think the other thing that we're very keen on developing is really developing our expertise in exploration drilling. So we've also announced the development of a new AMAK drilling services company, which will serve both our needs and hopefully the needs of other juniors that wanted to come into Saudi.
Yeah, obviously, following on from that, is there any other recent investments or developments that you'd like to also highlight?
Look, our focus is the recent big investment has been that Moyat process plant. It will increase copper production by 40%, zinc production by about 80%. So when you look at the existing assets, our new Moyat assets, we're positioning ourselves for 30 to 40,000 ounces of gold a year, 60 to 80,000 ounces of tons of zinc concentrate, 40-odd thousand tons of copper concentrate, and 500,000 ounces plus of silver. So that's the base from which we can grow, and future investment comes. So, my focus since coming here is how do we maximise the value from what we've got, use that as a springboard to really fully exploit other opportunities for the business within the kingdom, and hopefully one day overseas as well.
Yeah, sustainability is obviously important in our industry. I wondered if you'd like to highlight any key initiatives for the company's sustainability growth plan for the remainder of this year and for going up to the end of 2025.
Look, obviously being in Saudi water is at a premium, and so we recycle, reuse just about every drop that we possibly can. So we are wholly reliant on dry stack tailings here at AMAK. So all of our 3 plants have a combination of belt filters, pressure filters, plate filters that extract as much water as we possibly can. And similarly with grey water, etc., etc. So water management to minimise the impact on groundwater, which the local community relies on, is an absolute focus for us. And we're currently looking to expand the current footprint for our dry stack tailings facility such that it will cover all of the production from the known resources that we currently have. Obviously, in time, we'd like to have an even bigger operation. So, but for the resource base which we currently enjoy, by the end of 2025, we will have identified the tailings footprint area for a complete end-to-end dry stack tailings facility. The other thing we're looking at in that sustainability space is how we reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we're working on a project at the moment to connect to the national grid. So the national grid passes sort of probably within 15 kilometres to the south of us, perhaps 15 to 20 kilometres to the northeast of us. We're working with the government to get connected to the national grid and come off our reliance of generator power, diesel generator power. Also looking at the use of hydrogen hybrids, how we can introduce hydrogen both from an air quality perspective underground, but also a greenhouse gas emission. And the other thing that I'm pretty keen on is actually how do we beautify the area that we live in. So all of our waste timber, all of our waste vegetable matter from the mess, for example, we're actually going to start a topsoil farm where we can actually produce topsoil, hopefully make it available to local farmers, but also make the place just that little bit nicer for the 600 or 700 employees that we've got.
Obviously, some of these initiatives that you've just mentioned, how will this growth, I suppose, how does that affect the growth plan that the Kingdom supports for their vision for 2030?
Yeah, look, I think we're as in lockstep as we possibly can. As I say, the 2 fundamental tenements of the Vision 2030, economic diversification. Our focus there is to be at the forefront of finding and developing the rich endowment that Saudi has to enjoy throughout the Arabian Shield. So we are, very aligned with that economic diversification away from hydrocarbons. So it's not just about base metals and precious metals, as I said before, looking at everything from industrial minerals. We're also looking to develop an iron ore deposit about 70 kilometres away from us to provide iron ore into the cement industry within the Kingdom. So no stone left unturned, if you like, in terms of if we've got a tenement, we'll exploit it to its fullest. If we're not the right people to exploit it, we'll look to enter into an arrangement with another company to exploit it. From the other pillar of Vision 2030, sustainable development. So greenhouse gas emissions, water use, effective environmental stewardship, and supporting the local community. So we have a clear policy around support local first, and anyone that wants a job here is any Saudi person that wants a job here, we will look to make their dream a reality. And I think from a sustainable development perspective, outside the ESG space, one of the initiatives I want to pursue next year is how we take a group of young engineers and young Saudi professionals or tradespeople and actually make the mining industry exciting. Everyone knows about the hydrocarbon industry in Saudi, but the mining industry is perhaps sometimes seen as the dirty poor cousin. So I'm very passionate about working with the government to open up opportunities for career, introducing the career within the mining industry to Saudis that perhaps don't know anything about it. And then how do we make them competent? How do we offer the opportunities? How do we assess their competence? How do we give them a career through progressive development over time? So that's the other that I see one of the most important parts of sustainable development, not in the traditional sense, but sustainable development from a mining industry perspective.
And I suppose following on from that, how are the country's mining laws and regulations developing with their vision of 2030 in mind?
Again, it's refreshingly progressive. We work hand in glove both within the industry, other industry players, but also the government. So the government are very proactive in reaching out to say, we want to develop a policy on this or that. And there's that true consultation and engagement to make sure that the industry as it develops is both governed by but also supported by effective regulation and support mechanisms. So in terms of attaining Vision 2030, my feeling is that they've got the right approach in that meaningful engagement. It's not top down. It's bring all of the opinions and voices to the table, which is refreshing.
With obviously technology and AI obviously becoming more evident in not just our industry but other obviously industries, what technology and digital transformation is AMAK implementing into your business, and what impact is this having on obviously, I suppose, improvements within the company?
Like any company that's sort of trying to stay at the forefront, digital revolution, digital technology is absolute. You can't get away from it. A couple of examples that we're actively pursuing is in how do we, with such a large tenement holding and a growing tenement holding, how do we most efficiently assess the opportunities or the targets that we wanted to explore? So machine learning is one. So so we're using tools to pull in all of the data that's available to us: geology, geophysics, geotechnical, any data source that's relevant to a potential ore body, feed it into these systems, compare it to known deposits, and through machine learnings, it will be able to take away and say, what are the key things that are leading to this area as a priority over this area? That can save an enormous amount of time just by giving you that opportunity. It doesn't discount the traditional knowledge-based exploration activities. So really, it's about using technology, sense checking, if you like, with the very good geologists and experience that we've got to come up with a more targeted way to assess, develop, or move on from any particular piece of ground. Other opportunities, there's significant advances in asset management. How do we use technology to better predict when things are going to fail? They're just a couple of very simple examples that can add significant value around what we're doing. The good thing is, we have a new plant, Moya, which is state of the art. So a lot of these things, the digital technology solutions or options, are automatically available to us in that space. So being able to better predict through both reconciler type software, the movement of metal from the ore face through almost to the smelter in semi-real time allows us to be more proactive in identifying issues and opportunities, as soon as we can.
Corporate social responsibility is obviously key in the mining industry. Would you like to highlight, or can you highlight any initiatives regarding sustainability, safety, or any sort of community projects that you may be involved in, and what impacts they are having on local communities within the country?
Yeah, look, with the good thing about uh, the range of tenements we currently hold spread across the country. So we've got a concentration of activity and exploration around the Almasana region, but a number of our other tenements are several hundred kilometres away. So the very presence of our footprint, the expenditure that we're making, the training and development of local people is a significant part of that sustainability of the industry going forward. So if I think about sustainability, let me just go back a little bit. Our local community is very sparse. We have a small community about 25 kilometres away from us. We've got a few small family hamlets. So our focus is on working with those local communities to make sure that they enjoy whatever economic impact that they want to participate in from our presence. So more broadly, it's how we, from a sustainability perspective, how we support the Kingdom's vision of economic diversity and sustainable development. We will spend this year around about 400 million, so 80% in operating costs, 80% of which is retained in the Kingdom. So that in itself helps to support the growth and development of all the service industries within the Kingdom, because being a relatively small part of the economy, we don't have all of the service industries, that all of the chemical suppliers, equipment suppliers, et cetera, that we might enjoy in Australia or other jurisdictions. So our physical presence, our focus on supporting local, working with the government, develop local support industries are all about that growth and sustainability of the industry. On top of that, as I mentioned before, resource stewardship in air quality, water management are again fundamental to what we do.
Yeah. And I suppose in your opinion, what's I wonder if you can just give us an overview of the mining industry in Saudi Arabia at the moment, and I suppose how you'd see it growing over the coming years, and how will AMAK's assets feed into that?
It's an exciting place. I don't know. I don't think there's been a week that goes by where I haven't heard of a company wanting to gain access into the Saudi business or mining environment. So both from an exploration and development perspective, but also service delivery. And so there's two parts to it. The government have a very proactive and relatively streamlined tenement auction process. So every 3 months, the government put up a number of tenements for auction, and there's a very clear process that says this is how you apply. There's benchmarks or hurdles for applying, and there's the real opportunity for people that want to get involved to take part under a very transparent system. So that's exciting. And then there's just a range of other opportunities. Saudi Invest, a government-related body, actively come out to site, and which is a first for me, and say, we want you to succeed. How can we make your life easier? How can we, improve the way that you acquire services, or how investment is better managed within the Kingdom? So, from the very grassroots exploration space up to major investments in new plant acquisitions, new mines, there is someone there to guide you through the process and make sure that you've got every opportunity to succeed. So yeah, I have no doubt that the industry will continue to grow and provide opportunity.
Yeah, and if a mining company may be listening to this episode, or even or even someone that may be looking to work in Saudi, maybe they might have a job offer or they're looking to pursue their next career move in Saudi Arabia. What would you say some of the challenges that they may face, or what would they expect by looking and thinking about working in Saudi Arabia?
Look, it's different. I've been a career expat, so I've gone from one spectrum to another. But I think the first thing I'd like to say is the incredible generosity and warmth of the Saudi people. I was with a friend down in Najran the other day. We were looking at some ruins, and a Saudi person was on his way to prayer. He came over to us and basically beckoned us into his house, gesturing for food and drink. That's typical. You have to accept that people who A, can't speak to you, and B, don't know you from a bar of soap, will come up to you and say, please come with me. I want to offer you what I have in my house. So, which is pretty nice. There's a very high level of respect for different people from different nationalities. I run a business with 23 different nationalities, which is a first for me. And they're very tolerant, warm, welcoming, people. From a technical perspective, I won't say it's the Wild West, but we're at the start of a growth boom, right? We're at the start of a real industrial development boom in the mining sector within the country. So from that perspective, it's pretty exciting. Anyone that's got an adventurous spirit, anyone that's prepared to, that doesn't want 4 flavours of ice cream at the local mess, and want all of the trimmings of what they might find in some of the Australian camps. And I'm not saying it's bad here; it's different. But outside, both within the mine from a technical perspective, but culturally within, an experiential sort of opportunity, come on over. It's great fun.
And lastly, what's the sort of short to medium term outlook for AMAK as a mining business?
So first of all, I guess the priorities are make sure that we fully understand the assets that we've got from a mineral endowment perspective. Heavy focus on developing the gold assets for the long term, really driving the development of the AMAK drilling company to support our expanding exploration activities, but also service other potential clients in the kingdom, and then continue to look for good ground. We're active members. There's 7 new tenements coming up for the auction next month, and we'll be applying for 6 of them. So it's making sure that we've not only just applying, but we've got the business behind us to actually meaningfully explore and assess those assets. So stick to the knitting, focus on what we're good at, really drive maximum value from what we currently own, use that as a basis for growth as we go forward.
Yeah. Geoff, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your journey, telling us about AMAK as a business in mining, and obviously telling us about what it's like to be a miner in Saudi Arabia and what the vision of the country is for the mining industry and their vision for 2030. If our audience wants to reach out to you, if they want to follow the company's story, how can they go about doing that? What social media platform channels are you on?
Yeah, so obviously LinkedIn, the usual. So we've got a website which we're currently developing. We'll be at the Future Minerals Forum in the new year. So we'll have quite a large booth there. I think a number of the board members and a number of my team will be there. I think we've got 10 people going. So be really happy to see people if they are at the Future Minerals Forum. We're obviously on the Tadawul, the Saudi Stock Exchange. So please feel free to reach out if you've got. If you need to know anything about us, want to know more about Saudi in particular, I'd be all too pleased, I should say, to share the experience.
Yeah, great. We'll include those in the show notes accompanying this podcast for easy access. And as you mentioned, you're going to be at the Future Investment Forum in January. So obviously, if our audience wants to reach out to you and maybe even meet you and your company delegates, obviously you'll be. I take it you'd be more than welcome in our audience
Absolutely.
meeting you. Yeah, no worries.
Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you, and all the best for 2025. And hopefully you can come on the podcast next year and give us an update on what's happening.
No worries, Rob. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, appreciate your continued support. And as Geoff has alluded to, Saudi is going to be a driving force within our mining industry. And Geoff has given us an overview of what it is like to be mining in Saudi Arabia. So as always, appreciate you if you can share these episodes with people within our industry, but not just within our industry, outside of the mining industry, to obviously enhance the image of mining and the brand of mining, because we can only do that through sharing content and education outside of our mining industry. So thank you for listening again. Appreciate your continued support. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.